Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Let's say it together. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. Say, there is power in the name of Jesus. Come on. To break every chain. Break every chain, break every chain, yeah. To break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. Let's say it together. There is power. There is power in the name of Jesus. You got it. So there is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus, yeah, to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. Declare and say, to break every chain, break every chain, break every. Now somebody lift your hands in the air right here. Say, there's an army. We won't keep silent. Say, there's an army. Say, there's an army. There's an army rising up. Now shout it out. Say, to break every chain. To break every chain. Break every chain. Break every
Hello, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. That just seemed like the right song for the show today. Just to, just remember too that right now with so many hurting, we've just got to be in prayer. We've got to be praying against the evil forces that are working day and night, trying to get a foothold in our lives here in this country. And so it's just so incredible to hear these stories of what's going on in our own country. This is not a third world country. And it's just been so eye-opening to hear so many stories. Thank you for those that have been reaching out. And so it's just amazing what we're hearing. And I would just never think that it'd be going on in our country. We're working on a big show for Monday. So we're very excited about that. I got a few updates for you. The first one is we will not be in Mountain City, Tennessee tomorrow. It turns out that they're saying that they've got plenty of food and water and all that kind of stuff. And we've been dealing with a boots on the ground person. And so, but what they do need is generators. And so they got plenty of food, but they need generators. So here's what we're doing. They're asking for generators. And so we're collecting money to be able to do that. In fact, so the Michelle Moore Show has given $1,000. And then also Mike Fulgens with Universal Coin and Bullion has given $1,000 as well. So we are going to be sending generators to survivors. So if you're at a home and you're like, what can I do? Where can I give money? You can send us your donation. And so if you want to send a check, you need to send it payable to me, and then I'll cash it, and we're going to have where we send it all at once. And so the deadline is October the 14th, which is a week from this coming Monday. We couldn't put it out too far because we want to make sure that we get it as quickly as possible. And we're working on a bulk raid and kind of working on getting a really good deal on these generators. And so I've got a few things working already, but we need to purchase and coordinate delivery ASAP. People are needing this. And so that's why the deadline is Monday, October the 14th. And so you can mail a check. And by doing that, the address is in today's show description. Or, of course, you can always email me at Michelle@NashvilleMichelle if you want to, just reach out and make sure you got all the details right. Okay, so that was one thing we wanted to make sure that people knew. I have heard, again, though, that Mountain City, Tennessee, just like all the other areas that have been affected, in Georgia and in North Carolina as well, that if you have a chainsaw and able-bodied, especially male, then they certainly need help with being able to get the streets cleared, the roads cleared that are actually in still good condition. So we want to just make sure, that happens as well as possible, as soon as possible. So we're looking at having somebody that's been working boots on the ground this whole week with his crew. He shut down his company. He owns a company, and all of the guys went up there with all their gear and all of that. He said they had 9 trucks full of stuff for equipment and everything, and they've been up there all week. His name is Jason. Jason is going to be with us on Monday, and we're going to hear from him directly what all is going on. He's got some incredible connections, and so he's going to give us some insight too about the governmental side of things. He's friends with Tracy Lawrence. And so Tracy Lawrence, the country music singer, has been helping as well behind the scenes. So lots of logistical things going on. He's been talking with FEMA, all this different stuff. So we're excited about the potential of having him on Monday. We're planning on that. So wanted to let you know that. We also have had different people reaching out. And I wanted to show you this. So Danny Smith reached out and said, personal story from flood victims outside of Burnsville, North Carolina. My friend's son and fiance and their 2 dogs had to leave their home because no road to travel on. They walked 15 miles to get down to town of Burnsville before being rescued by someone. Like many, he is saying even the worst of what you see on the news or people's videos can't describe how bad it is. And so, of course, we've been starting to see videos and different images coming from, out there in the country, in the hills and the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. So my husband got home last night. He's been gone all week as well. And so since Monday morning, very early, he's been down in Georgia because of the storms. And so he had to go and help because of the situation down there. So he's now back. And so that's good, but he's been doing his part. And then we're going to see what we can do with these generators. All right. So that was one thing. Many viewers have been complaining about the ads with Rumble. So many people watch our show through Rumble. So it's my understanding there's not an ad situation when the show is streaming live. And of course, we re-air the show as streaming live a couple of different times in a day. but then also over the weekend. So if you're watching kind of just on demand, you're going to need to go on ahead and log into Rumble. So if you don't have a Rumble account, I recommend you get one. And then that way you can log in. And then what Rumble has explained to me is once the ad starts, like within a few seconds, I think they said 5 seconds, at that point, the skip button comes up and you can skip the ad. And so you just need to log in. So that is one of the many ways that you can find us. You can also go to truthtalkamerica.com, and we always stream live what's going on the network at that time. Tonight, I don't know if you've heard, but there's going to be a town hall in Fayetteville, North Carolina with Donald Trump. And so Truth Talk America, our network, is going to be streaming it on all platforms, meaning both Rumble channels, truthtalkamerica.com, and also on the network. So wanted to make sure, like Apple TV and all that. So wanted you to be aware of that. Immediately following, Asheville, North Carolina got hit. Well, you know what else is there? It's the Biltmore. So producer Ron's been busy, and he has found a documentary that he wants to air immediately following the town hall tonight. Biltmore Unveiled is the name of the documentary. He says it's just a little over 2 hours and is filled with information. So thank you, producer Ron. Always just coming up with such great things for you guys. By the way, just saw right before we went live, about 45 minutes before, that the death toll has surpassed 200 as the search and rescue efforts are continuing. We know that it's thousands. It's going to be. And there is a story about a town where they had a town meeting last night, and apparently the people in this small little country town, is the way it's been described to me, was told that they no longer own the land and that they will, there's not really rescue operations anymore, and that they'll be bulldozing the area. Well, I don't know if that is exactly what's going on, but I did ask the gentleman that I was talking about earlier that's been boots on the ground and been in some of these meetings and things. And what he said is, Michelle, he said, the fact of the matter is, it's horrific. He said, it's not on the table to be able to save everyone. He says it's so bad. The roads are collapsing and all of that. He said, right now there is a road that's usually got 5 to 10 cars that goes through it, and it's very tiny little place. Well, the road is not made to be able to withstand the traffic that it's getting right now, because it goes in and out of North Carolina and Tennessee and kind of weaves back and forth because of the interstates that have collapsed and all of that has shut down. He said, Michelle, he said, at some point, it's just not going to be the best call, because we have people that are alive. And if we keep trying to find and recover dead, he said, what about the ones that are alive? He said, the need is so great and so horrific. And so he'll be with us on Monday, and we'll talk about some of that with him. All right. Okay. So very excited about today's guest, Meghan Walsh. I like to refer to her as Adam Walsh's older sister or younger sister. And of course, we all know who John Walsh is. And so we're going to bring Meghan on and get an update first and foremost. Hi, Meghan. How are you doing, honey?
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. I think that, first of all, a lot of my viewers are not on X, but I want everyone to know that Meghan Walsh is on X, and she does so much when it comes to bringing awareness. I said something the day that we had Yeshua and his father on, and I said, thank you to you for making that connection. But that is one of many. You talk about CPS, you talk about a lot of the trafficking issues, a lot of Hollywood. And you just, do so much, and wanted just to make sure that people realize that you are out there every single day talking and bringing attention to what's important. And I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing just on social media, even, and being here today with us.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That really humbles me, and really means a lot to me, and for everyone that always watches and supports. I couldn't be here without that. So you're getting me choked up, but I really, really appreciate that. And this is what we need to be doing. So I'm blessed and honored to be in this position and be able to be doing what I am.
Yeah. Okay. So let's first, you have 4 children. And so will you kind of update people a little bit about what is going on with the kids and your situation?
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned in the intro, for those that are just, seeing me for the first time, maybe, yes, I am the younger sister to Adam Walsh. He's known as the little boy with the baseball bat in our American history, who was abducted from the Sears department store in Hollywood, Florida in 1981. And that then, provoked the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where then from there was my father, obviously rose to a public platform through that, and then started was asked to host America's Most Wanted, the TV show by Fox and Rupert Murdoch. That was a big thing for Rupert to bring to America. It was actually a show that was already called Crime Watch UK that had been done, and he had kind of tested in the UK and wanted to bring to America. Fox was failing at the time and was a fledgling network, and America's Most Wanted really put them back on the map and saved the network, if you will. So my background is, obviously I was born into my family. I was born less than a year than after my brother was abducted. And I was immediately put on, Capitol Hill in the media, mostly, on Capitol Hill with politicians at the events and all of that. Then growing up, obviously, with my dad going into media and news from politics, I was in that arena. My father was also on CNN as well and other networks, Discovery. And then on my own, as I got older, I went into fashion. I had my own fashion line and music, doing EPs and working under people with Kanye West. And then when I had my second child, my son, in 2017, shortly after that, I left the industry. I decided to leave the industry from what I had seen and what I had been exposed to and what I had been used for and exploited for. And I didn't want my children having that. And I wanted to go into a space of healing and helping others with their childhood traumas, or, these events that we're finding out in the world, are going on, to really be a support for people, and to start community efforts, in terms of prevention of child trafficking domestically, as well as providing spaces for children and for our community so that we can be thriving on our own and not giving all of our power to these federal agencies that take our money and don't serve us and are ruining our children and families.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you've done such a great job at, when I was talking about with the social media, is really bringing attention to the fact that one of the biggest traffickers, if not the biggest trafficker in our country, is CPS or DHS, depending on what they're called in everyone's different areas. But, you've really opened a lot of eyes to that. I know that you've helped me to understand that early on as well. CPS, Child Protective Services, Department of Human Services, whatever they call it. But it's, they're in on the trafficking.
Yes, they are. And that's actually where I'll answer your question, your original question, I'll digress. I'd started when I went into that space of helping others and getting involved in my community. I thought that I was doing what our family did. We are for truth and justice and the law and protection of children. So I went into advocating against the corruption within CPS and family court system in our country, and very vocal about the fact that that is our domestic child trafficking. We know from the National Center itself and the FBI, which are two questionable and big players in this, they themselves state that over 88%, and that's only what's reported, of child trafficking comes from the foster care system. So when everyone was asking about the Epstein list and, this whole child trafficking movement, which It's, now it's a movement because it's trendy and it's political. This is a humanitarian crisis that's been happening for decades. And we've watched it develop over the last decades in our country, especially through NGOs and the elite figures behind those, to develop it into a system that works perfectly for child trafficking, and that we give our tax money to. We support the propaganda that's put out. And so when I started speaking about that and asking questions about Epstein and some of my family's affiliations, specifically the National Center for Missing Exploited Children's affiliations, as well as being called during COVID, more people knew that I was doing this work. I was holding events and big bridge walks in our town. And I was starting to ask about the town, because that's what we all need to be doing. We need to be looking at our local communities and identifying who the child trafficking racket is within each of our counties across this country, which at this point, every state has violated and has committed federal kidnapping and trafficking, which logistically by law would immediately call for the halting of any funding or any operations of CPS nationally, actually. So that's something that we need to keep in mind as we move through this. But, after becoming an advocate, asking questions in my community, thinking that I was doing something, right, I started facing a lot of, stalking, harassing, questions. I was having parents call me during COVID saying, my child's photograph was just uploaded to this LifeTouch database, and I never, signed a form or gave consent. What is this about? They're connected with the National Center. Why was my child placed on the missing list when my child's not missing? These were everyday people contacting me, and parents specifically, with issues with the National Center and the way that things were being exploited. I mean, ironically. And we have to also remember that higher statistics equals higher funding. So that comes into play with that, and also with the CPS racket itself, with the quotas now for how many children they have to take, the incentives to take them, and especially to adopt them out when we have real neglect and abuse issues in our country that are being ignored because that doesn't work for a child trafficking system. That's taken advantage of in a different way. And we can talk about that on another show, and we have in the past as well. But after doing that work, suddenly in a day, I was accused. I had CPS knocking on my door. I was accused of having severe untreated mental illness, of child abuse, of criminal, drug addict. I mean, every gang stalking, defamation, playbook checklist that you could do. My children were removed. For those that don't know, my older 3 were removed and given to my parents immediately. They filed false allegations, which in Florida is a 3rd-degree felony up to 5 years. And the judges all went along with it. My father had the sheriffs in there protecting him. He had just installed the sheriff into the town through him and his buddies and campaigning for the sheriff. We actually just I found out yesterday, for a little hope in this, that the main henchman for the sheriff, Michael Dilks, he was originally known as the racist TikTok cop. Then he became the main, henchman he was on every scene. They planted him in my church, even the month that they did this, to just harass, the psychological warfare that it is. He oversaw me being falsely arrested. I've been terrorized for 3.5 years, domestically terrorized for the work that I do. My children have been taken for my silence. I spoke up in court. I did the case plans. We've proven everything over and over again, but that's what is happening overall. That's why I'm here speaking. I'm only one example of what's happening by the minute across our country. We have an over 77% removal rate is unfounded, and that's creating that causes huge trauma for a family, especially children. And that's the issue here, is that none of us are thinking about the perspective of the children that are being put through this. The system is completely backwards. This is our responsibility, not the government's. And, we need to move forward from that place. I then had another baby. I wasn't going to let, I've already been controlled my entire life through the elites and my family. And I knew that this was fraud. I under God gives us our blessings. Our children are not ours. They're his, actually. And I was blessed with a beautiful baby, Esther Grace, little girl, that right before her birth, I had actually filed in federal court in Fort Pierce, Florida, the same courthouse, and on the same day, actually, as Trump did in, I believe it was May it was, I believe. And that can be found on Pacer. But I did file federally against everyone that did this to my children. For the first case, they found out about that, Judge Robert Meadows specifically. And they found out, and then they came and, did an entire hoax again, seen John Walsh, America's Most Wanted, every resource in the county to come and stay all night and harass us with high beams on the house. And then the next morning to come with SWAT and kidnap in front of everyone my 5-day-old baby Esther.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I was in court, the next morning, and the next day, the court-appointed attorneys, they all work together. It's all a racket. We have state whistleblowers that have come forward, and they actually testified on our behalf, and they were retaliated against. Anyone in my position that comes forward, CPS comes after and removes your children as retaliation. It's horribly weaponized, as well as Amber Alert for those that are stuck in this trafficking system in America and are trying to be the protective parents in most of these cases, and taking their children away from being trafficked as well as themselves. And then we have Amber Alert that now gets the nation to search for them and help bring back the product, if you will. So my daughter, in August, to wrap this up, in August, I lost custody. The Judge Robert Meadows terminated my rights to my older 3 children on their birthdays. They scheduled our trial for the day that my brother was kidnapped and the day his head was found. And that cut immediate ties with my children. They have not been allowed to see me or speak to their mother. This is trauma-based mind control. This is part, there's CPS issues, but there's also the elite issue that has now been put into the system to, by default, do this to all of our children, actually. And that goes back to the Finders cult, which is CIA, we know from the D class, and I talk about that all the time. But in August, I did watch my father come in during my trial by ambush. He was allowed to by Judge Victoria Griffin, who was already reprimanded in front of the Florida State Supreme Court for election fraud, campaign fraud. And he was allowed to come in, and we went in a side conference room. And again, surrounded by the sheriffs, I was told I'm not allowed to say a word, that I'm permitted to go in, but I'm not allowed to say a word. And it was quite a scene in there where I watched my father literally sell my baby in a courtroom deal to the state. DeSantis and AG Moody have ignored this case completely, while they're doing, appearances and presenting new Big Brother, Crime Stoppers. Anyone can, report any even suspected crime and maybe get a cash prize, all of that. And the Florida Human Trafficking Summit. I still don't know why it's not the Anti-Human Trafficking Summit, but I digress. So they're doing these initiatives and working together in the public eye while they're ignoring our case, which is further, aiding and abetting John Walsh in federal kidnapping and trafficking.
So, Meghan, what do you mean by you watched your father sell your baby?
I had to sit there and wasn't allowed to say a word. I had no due process whatsoever. And he stood up in front like he was running the show, like the mob boss we've been seeing him act like in the past years, regardless of any speculation about Adam, anything about the National Center. These are crimes that he's been committing in present day in plain sight over the past 3.5 years. So I watched him stand up there and say, my daughter is so sick and, freaked out. I mean, he's frantic about it. And, Esther is better off with a stranger foster woman and in Port St. Louis, wherever she is, and in a stacked foster home. She has other foster kids coming in, and that's again part of the system so that we talk about.
Okay. So the baby is not with your mother and father.
No, they wouldn't take the baby in. They immediately put her into the system, into foster care, knowing what it is. And again, that was the biggest question for me. If we're saying these statistics, if we're knowing these things, what are we doing about them? Where's the initiative from the National Center, to correct CPS, to out this and end our modern day child predators?
Yeah. Yeah. Meghan, when we were talking the other night, you said something that I thought was very interesting. I wrote it down. It says, you had said that states that are federally trafficking children immediately lose their federal funding. And also, what does that have to do? How does that impact the elections?
You know what? I stay out of the whole politics. I've been forced into it due to the nature of the past few years. But of course,
can those states, can they participate in the elections? Does it change anything?
Well, I think that the people that oversee those organizations and everything, and that have allowed that legislation to be passed or allowed CPS to keep operating, let alone grant them further funding, and that would be our governors.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then also, it reminds me of when we had Sylvia Beachy on. And she was explaining, which I met her through you, I believe. And it was where she was saying, for example, in the state of Florida, she was explaining that these people are actually incentivized not to reunify the child with the parents by thousands of dollars, like a $10,000 kind of thing. So it's insane.
Which equates to millions and more. So, Sylvia was, on my cases with me. She's a witness to everything that happened. We recorded and tracked everything the entire time as much as we could. But yes, they're incentivized, and it's not just some, it's every state, every county is incentivized now. And what's happening is, the lower hanging fruit, like the social workers, that are doing the transporting, which actually is a literal trafficking term. And that's what they call it in CPS. The transporters are taking the children from one service to another. They're collecting money on it. The agency collects money. And so they're actually coming forward or speaking up more lately. And then we find that it's the administrators and higher ups that then threaten or fire or incentivize and groom them to falsify documents, to hinder case plans, and to keep children ultimately. I actually will challenge people to go and look in your own county at the return rates of children, especially versus the removal rates. We're at less than a 5%, if that, return rate.
All right. I want to show a photo. Now, we actually have this photo for a different reason, but I remember the first time I saw this, Meghan, where I see that your mother and your father standing there with Hunter Biden. And if anybody has seen anything from that Hunter Biden laptop, you just get, a horrible gut feeling and something is really not right. He gets an award for the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, no, National Center, but it's Meghan, this has got to be, they say that the people that actually are always being recognized in these organizations are actually the ones that are taking part in this stuff, that none of it is like what we've been led to believe all this time. I mean, Meghan, it's awful.
It's horrific, Michelle. And I grew up, supporting law enforcement my entire life, which is a huge part of this trafficking racket. It's how it's enabled, really, and covered. I've supported it my entire life. I've supported the center. I've been involved in it and raised money and done all of that. I was doing the art shows before Hunter was ever, an artist, apparently. So, but that also even got me questioning things there when that was happening, and what's money laundering and what are these NGOs really doing? doing. I would do work behind the scenes because I didn't want to be in the forefront for the National Center, and I would report things and give my take on things like the Cuties movie when that came out on Netflix, different things like kidschat.net, where predators are just rampant, and it's still up today despite me reporting it and being thanked by the National Center. We've just seen a lot of cover-ups for predators versus actual, doing anything about it and stopping it. But yeah, I mean, this year we have the National Center, and it was established as really the first NGO to get federal funding and establish something for children's the issue of children protection and safety. And that's a big deal. We didn't have incentives on that before. We didn't have funding, for people. We know that corruption creeps in, especially when that's involved, and so on and so forth. So what NGOs are and everything is a huge question that we're ignoring. We've gone through, okay, what is child trafficking? We're having this going on in our country. Who's doing it? But then NGOs, I think we're finally getting to this place of realizing who the real kingpins are and how this goes out globally. For example, with the creation of the International Center for Missing Exploited Children with Richard Branson of NXIVM, World Economic Forum, Hillary Clinton, and many players that we already know are, have nefarious dealings and issues around child issues. We actually see that most of them have some sort of sexual deviance in the past. And, I know a big one coming up now is Ashton Kutcher with all of the P. Diddy stuff. And he, the co-founder behind the scenes of the National Center is a man by the name of Ernie Allen. And then he actually left the center. They said he retired, but he was actually found out to be paying out himself and other administrations over 6-figure salaries. And so they said he retired, like a Laura Silsby, right? We're trafficking out of Haiti, but then we're going to put her in Alert Sense and oversee Amber Alert. And so then he moved on to creating the International Center. He created the McCann Institute from the McCann case that was really used to create the International Center for Missing Exploited Children. And then he went
Are you talking about Madeleine McCann?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
The little girl.
And,
who is
and that goes into also, lastly, Michelle, is Thorn with Ashton Kutcher and, co-founding with Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher. And he's sitting right next to Ashton at that whole fake, testifying in front of Congress and saying, I've seen these horrible videos of this happening to children. And now we know to question that a little further. But these, and the last thing I want to say on this, because you asked about the McCann case, as well as what we're finding and have found now about Adam's case, my brother, is that there's also a situation of where there's legislation that is being shopped around before it's actually passed. So they want some kind of an initiative, they want a response, but they need sponsors for it. And so we have found, like, the McCann case really created a need and a whatever for sponsorship for the International Center, as well as what Adam's case was already being shopped legislation that they need a sponsor for. And then all of a sudden Adam Walsh happens, and we have the National Center, and now we have things like the Adam Walsh Act, the National Sex Offender Registry, Amber Alert, and things that are under the guise of help but are actually working against us. Whether it was originally supposed to be that or not, we're finding it's not. But that is the case that people really need to be aware.
So Megan, what you're describing is that where we've heard before, where they create the need and then provide the solution, and it's just backwards. They've provided a solution and then they go and create the need. So that way they go, look, we've already got a solution. Makes complete sense. It's
a alien dialect for sure. And when we know that blackmail is the main, modus operandi, if you will, who and using child pornography, I mean, who's supplying that? The National Center has the world's largest database of child porn.
All right. So Megan, who is this in the photo next to Hunter Biden? Do you know?
Okay, so this is in 2016, which I know a lot of the Hillary stuff came out. A lot of things were happening at this time. So for me personally speaking, this award was really kind of a declaring or a calm, if you will. I guess we say it these days, but a declaring of loyalty or sides is how I perceive it. This was, again, foundations are formed. So the National Center also has the Jeff Koons Law Foundation, and that's another sexual deviant that I've talked about and is involved and connects to Alefantis and Brock and all of that side of things, as well as Marina Abramovich, Hillary Clinton, and the Arts and Embassies program. But he also started it, and why I say that is because Hunter is standing here accepting an award on behalf of his late brother Beau Biden, which they used Beau's situation to start the Beau Biden Foundation. So they've got all these foundations. If we look at a pattern, we see over time something happens with a child, especially in these cases. We have the press comes out, the family is stoic, and they say, oh, we're not going to let it happen in vain. That's my dad's line. That's a programming line. And then they create a foundation. And what that does is it creates more funding for this, conglomerate, and it creates another arm, if you will, or another tentacle, I guess, is what we like to say these days of this, network.
Okay, so Meghan, so there's your mom and dad, and then there's Hunter, but who's the gentleman beside him?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Michelle. It's Manus Cooney, and we did actually a thread on him this past week. I don't remember specifics, but he's connected to a company, and actually who put that up was Marco Polo, Garrett Siegler, and amazing. And the pictures will show of the more recent speech that they did. Marco Polo commented right below it, put up the different things from the laptop with the CEO, DeLune now being heavily involved and throughout the Hunter Biden laptop. I also actually exposed, which is why they reached out to me, I exposed the emails of Harvey Weinstein to Hunter Biden talking about Jeff Koons, Larry Gagosian, himself and the like, selling Jeff Koons prints for $50,000 and having a private dinner that then would all be donated to Hillary's campaign, and so on and so forth there. So,
yeah. Okay. The thing about it is with artwork, for people that are watching, the value is always subjective. And so how can you, say, well, wait a minute, why are you getting $50,000 for a piece of artwork? Koons, I didn't know who he was until you and I were speaking, months ago, and you brought him to my attention. And he's another one that has artwork and pieces of art with the little balloon animals and stuff. And so that makes sense, and that's how one of the ways that they launder money. And so is to pass money around, right?
I'm sorry, Michelle. I just wanted to get this in. I know we're limited on time, but Jeff Koons is one of the main players in all of this. We have to also remember and bring up for people who aren't aware, but NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Lovers Association, the Homosexual Manifesto of 1987 that was presented in front of Congress saying that we're going to be in every church and bathroom and school, influencing your children, all of that. So I'm not saying he is that. I'm just saying we have to remember that when we're looking at this. So Jeff Koons comes in. He was accused of molesting his own son by his ex-porn star wife. He then, the important thing here about the art, what you were saying for our viewers today is that he actually sold a chrome rabbit. So we talk about something else with chrome and a rabbit structure these days, but he sold a chrome rabbit piece of art through one of the major auction houses in New York for $91.1 million, which then sets his value, like you said, makes him the highest paid living artist. And from there, that gave him the status to be appointed for the Arts and Embassies program with Hillary Rodham Clinton and Marina Abramovich. And that goes into a whole other.
Okay, so let's go. I want to also talk about, what do you think the calm is here? So if you go back, you said this was in 2016. Look at the dress that your mother's wearing. Do you think there's a calm here? Because when was this taken? In the last month?
Yeah. So this was what, 2 weeks ago, last week, the week before. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking in theory of that, I always like to say that first, but if we're talking in theory about that, and comms, that yes, I mean, my mother and others pointed it out, is wearing the same dress in 2024 as 2016 when they presented the award to Hunter. And, that's not like my mother. I will say that she loves her new outfits and everything. And, I hate to say it, but her hair and her appearance is very concerning. I still love and honor my parents. I hate this. I think it's disgusting. And overall, I know that people have to see, but I think that it's going too far at this point for even that. This isn't a show. These are real people's lives. And, my children are being held and brainwashed and used as, extortion, basically. And this is happening across our country. So here, I think that if there's a comm involved, I think it's to refer back to the 2016 award that she's wearing the same dress. And they look, I mean, my dad, my father, I've said this from the beginning. I think that he started suffering from aspects of dementia and things years ago, which then we found an AARP article of his deep brain stimulation procedures through Mayo Clinic and things that are very concerning that I'm not okay with, that, the hospitals, talking my parents into or participating or whatever is going on there. But, this is not this, my parents, it was very hard to watch. I'll say that.
Okay. I know this is difficult, Megan, and I appreciate you talking with us about it. Okay. So I wanted to what were you going to say, honey?
I said, we have to. Thank you. But we have to talk about these things. No one wants to talk about child trafficking because they say, oh, it's too horrible, or, I can't sleep at night or things. But these are children that are going through it. We're speaking on their behalf. And I'm a victim surviving right now. And I'm still speaking and showing up every day. So what are the American people doing really at this point?
Yeah. Well, I've said numerous times, I don't know how you get out of bed in the morning. I've said that to you many times and to many others. Okay, so
of the Lord. Amen.
Well, I do want the viewers to know that you've recently spoken with Jack and Margie Flynn and that there is some communications going on there. So as things progress with that, we'll be sure to let everybody know. We'll have Jack and Margie and you back, and we'll progress with that as well and see how what the viewers can do to help you and to participate with whatever it is that you and Jack and Margie come up with is the best way to progress for you getting your children back. They need to be with their mother. Okay, so I want to move on to the next thing, which is, of course, you have all of this experience and background with, and even like, I didn't realize that your music deal was under Kanye. I knew that you knew Kanye and were connected to him at some point, but I didn't realize that the music deal was with him. And so I want to go over.
I'm going to say for a second, I didn't have a deal. So the thing about me, guys, is I never signed anything. I would never sign a contract. I never sold my soul or myself away. I was working under Kanye in terms of his people and things. They were helping to develop me as an artist while I was in talks with the agency, which our agency that already owns us is William Morris Endeavor. And so I was working with them to create my package, if you will, to present to the agency and to build my portfolio as I was, releasing my albums and videos and things, which is very important. Why I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's very important to say that because that's really how I saw how this trafficking occurs through the industry firsthand. I mean, I was being trafficked. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. In the midst of all of this, at what point do you become a believer, a Christ-filled, like, okay, the witchcraft stuff and all of this Illuminati stuff, not, that they have tried to get you into. At what point do you realize, no, this is not the way? What year is this?
So this was it was 2020, I believe. This happened in 2021, my kids, and it was ironically right after I had ran back to Christ, I say, and was baptized. I had my daughter baptized. I had my sons dedicated to the Lord, and months after that, our whole world fell apart. But yeah, I think people don't really realize that in university, I mean, I have double degrees in graphic design and painting. I have double minors in Eastern religion and philosophy. I would present papers in India. I lived in India. I set up production and distribution for my own company in my mid-20s in India myself. And did all of that. So when I was coming forward and, looking at these things, I do have firsthand experience.
Yeah. And some of that knowledge as well, just from an educational perspective. Okay.
Well,
So
and I left because it was, they were putting me, when I left the industry and went into my healing, they wanted to direct it towards, I had been sent and put in front of a Rothschild therapist who told us we had special gifts and things throughout my life in my late 20s. During that time, I was high practicing Kundalini instructor and transcendental meditation and all very deep occult practices for over 25 years. I was deeply trained in by top people, even people connected to Oprah, as well as, military industrial yogis and the different things in that realm of how New Age and Luciferian doctrine has really been brought to the West and permeated society. So when I realized that, and especially with Kundalini and a very cult aspect of it, I decided that was a cult, and I wanted no part of it. And Jesus was always there in all my meditations, all my astral projection, all the things that they were having us do. Jesus was always there. And that's really what really showed me a lot and turned my heart back to Christ. I always loved Christ. So it was
that's
definitely
amazing.
solidified.
So when you did all of this with being baptized and your daughter and your sons, how did your parents react?
It didn't go over well. I mean, I was, internally speaking up within my family. It's not everybody's business, but I was speaking up about the abuse that I had endured throughout my life, especially at the hands of my mother, and how my father played into that in his own way of abuse. And I didn't want that for my children. I wanted my parents to get help. They were, had tragedy allegedly, and were, presented with contracts and put in the spotlight, if you will, and maybe didn't have time to recover or heal from that trauma. And so I wanted them to do that. And I didn't want my children to experience the upbringing of this, as everyone says, this silver spoon in the mouth, to put it, short. I think people really need to look at what that is and what these children of celebrities really are for them, as well as child actors themselves. We know how that goes, and that gets into Bieber and different things that we're seeing now with Diddy. But children of celebrities, what is that? What is that generationally? What are they expected to do or be? These different notions. So I was speaking up about that within my family and saying, I can't participate if you can't support the lifestyle that I'm choosing. And you're with my children a lot, and I love you. I want you all to know each other. I want to, I'm grateful for what you've given me, but I want to, in a COVID pandemic, I want to homeschool, and that was used against me to take my children. My children didn't eat GMOs or processed foods. That was considered me having extreme dietary restrictions for them. I was accused, they take vitamin gummies, and I was accused of giving them THC gummies. They take everything and just bastardize it. And that was the lifestyle I want for my children. I wanted a humble upbringing, and they knew what chores were and be able to take care of themselves in the future, and not be a part of that whole entire cult scene. It is a cult.
Okay. One of the things that you said to me that I don't know that many viewers would know this is you were saying that these things that they're referring to that Diddy had as freak off parties are actually satanic rituals. Can you explain that?
Yeah, and I want to also give credit where it's due always, which also gives me a great opportunity to talk about the real people involved in this. We've had this movement came about. It was like a movement to misdirect people and to, suck up resources and donations and good people that want to do things when there are real people out here. And I have been steadfast to bring the real people forward. I mean, I'm only human too. I can be wrong, and I'm not afraid of that. But, I have brought real victims and survivors, real cases, my own, John Walsh and them it in live time while I'm being terrorized and harassed and my baby ripped from my womb and my other children being, delved out, I guess, divvied out, whatever it is, for this. So, it's definitely been a thing, but we just have to talk about it and realize, and now we're seeing with the Diddy stuff, but Allie Carter definitely, has been very vocal as well. I encourage everyone to go look at her stuff. You guys, she's been out for years talking about this, just like I have. When I was an advocate, I remember I was following her. I have followed her every second. The first live when they, the police were at the house, they're doing all the gang stalking, everything when they first had to leave, her and her mother know that I, always send prayers and everything, but please start learning about her because she is the one, like myself, that's identifying that CPS is these freak offs are satanic rituals, who the people that are doing it are. And also the fact that, it's really sad that we're out here begging for our lives and my children's lives every day. People think, maybe because they're with the Walshers and they have money that they're safe. I mean, no, this is every day that my life and my children are put in jeopardy, that this goes on, as well as all the other people coming out and the children still involved in it. But she's really, great on saying that, I've been out here doing this for years and now everyone wants to know who I am or wants us to come on shows and everything because it's trending now. And I'm getting choked up because I've been saying this from the beginning and I've said it to you before. I said, this is really going to be vile if, this issue of the children is held until the last minute, for other purposes or, just because it's not the right timing. And that's also how I started realizing a lot of the other groups that I was working with and, wanted to be a part of, thought I was helping over the last years, were really there to gatekeep and to hinder our stories and the reality of CPS. Yeah.
It's sick. So the satanic rituals part of this, so they're really satanic rituals. Allie Carter, by the way, came out, just so that the viewers know, Allie, and I know but Allie Carter came out with a new video. It was about 25 minutes long, a little bit over a week ago. We aired it. And so if you go to the Michelle Moore Show Rumble channel or Truth Talk America, both Rumble channels, you'll be able to find it. And then also we'll have producer Ron put it in today's show description on the Michelle Moore Show and Truth Talk America shows for today as well. So that way, the link for that. So if you haven't seen it, we highly recommend you see this. That's why we aired it as a special presentation. This is absolutely important that everybody sees it. She has been speaking out really since 2020, about the same time you came out that I know of, with everything, has really been about 2020. I think both of you kind of, had things come to a head at the same time. All right. So I have a video.
And she's also one that was at, she claims that she was at the Diddy parties, for those that aren't aware, to just furthermore incentivize you to watch what she's talking about, please.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So, and she gives you some details. Now, there is something that she says that I think is interesting. She said something about the elections are over. What do you think that meant? She's like, there's not going to be an election. The elections are over. What does that mean?
Well, again, like I said, and what we know, if just because maybe you aren't raping children or taking part in this, about it. This is known in the industry. This has been known for a long time. And especially when you're in it. I mean, I was removed more than, a lot of these people by the grace of God. Thank God. I mean, I left I was at those parties and I was the one who had the guts to say, we're leaving this party right now, and thankfully, I mean, I look back at when I was in those enemy camps and what I saw and why I saw it and how I was delivered from that and can now speak about it. And it's truly, it leaves me speechless, honestly, but we have to understand what those are and, who's doing this. So she's really courageous about it.
All right. So just in case, because, I always try to make sure that nobody gets left behind. So we're going to kind of back up for a second. I found a great video. Producer Ron, there was a lot of cursing. So producer Ron spent quite a bit of time bleeping it out, to the best of our abilities and everything. So We're going to show this because it does a good job kind of connecting some dots. And then we're going to come back and speak with Meghan about what all it says and kind of go over some of this.
Real quick, Michelle, before we go to that, I do want to, because, there's so much in this. So viewers, I apologize if you ask me something, we get off on a little bit of something else. But I do, I wanted to, gosh, and now I just lost the train of thought. You were saying right before this, what did you ask me? Shoot, and I wanted to finish. Sorry, guys.
I asked you about Allie saying that the elections are over.
Yes. Okay. So that's all I wanted to tie this together. Michelle, you have been incredible about having, showing Allie's videos and having, again, Yeshua and his father on. So we have to also understand that especially Yeshua's case implicates Kamala Harris. I mean, this is a huge deal. We want to talk about elections. This is Kamala Harris. And regardless, when she's an AG, when you're a governor, when you're a vice president, whatever you are, again, you are allowing this. You are signing off on it, or you're giving funding to it. And, as we saw with their interview, there's a lot of details and intricacies behind the scenes that this is how that's facilitated and happens. So in terms of election, if we've got our candidate for president being accused currently of federal child sex trafficking, which is being ignored, see, these big cases are being ignored by all of the propaganda and the distractions, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I just want to tie that together for people and answer about the election. Thank you.
All right. That's so good, Meghan. Thank you. And Carrie says she said just about everyone in government is involved. Yeah, the governors, all of them, because you don't get involved unless you are already compromised. That's the point. All right, let's take a look at this video. It's so good.
Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex-wife, had her memoir released.
I heard it's a real page turner.
No one knows if she actually wrote this book or not. So everything you're about to hear, it could be true, it might not be true. So Kim Porter first met the diabolical brother Diddy while working at Uptown Records.
The diddler.
They're together for a year and a half when Diddy insists that he wants Kim to peg him.
What?
Kim replies, isn't that you and Clive Davis's thing? Clive Davis is the man that put him in charge.
Oh,
Diddy got his job with no songwriting abilities, can't play an instrument, barely can rap. So how did he get his job?
because he could throw that. Diddy already had a boy toy that was doing that for him. She didn't want to have to do it too. I respect that, Kim.
And shout out to the good sister Amanda Rollins. I'm recapping her recap.
Thank you, Mandy.
Mary J. Blige comes into the picture.
Oh no.
Diddy admits that he hooked up with Mary J. Blige. All three of them eventually entangle as well.
Oh, Diddy had a threesome with Mary J. and Kim Porter.
For this, she was married to a big shot, Al Shore.
I'll be sure.
One day, Kim Porter came home. Diddy is at the table with Al B. Shore. Al suggests that they all have a threesome. That goes down, but eventually the threesome dwindles down to just a twosome between the fellas.
Kim Porter fell off the bed and Diddy and Al just kept going. King freak off, man.
So shortly after that, Kim is perusing around the house. She finds a secret vault with all the tapes of the alleged freak-offs.
Oh, so she found the mother lode.
Kim was with Diddy, but they were more or less in an open relationship since he likes dudes. She started seeing Tupac.
That's a nice pull. Thank you, Kim.
They're all together, and Diddy asked Tupac, who do you think can slang it better?
Between them two? Gotta be like, yo, my is better, yo. You gotta prove it to me if you think yours is better.
And then one day, Kim Porter walks into the studio and alleges that she hears Diddy arranging the hit on Tupac. He said, no one's leaving that studio alive.
Oh, and this is sad. This is like out of a movie.
She reveals the previous time Diddy had put hands on her was when she had a little too much fun with Jamie Foxx.
Oh.
Why is that an issue? You also had your fun with Jamie Foxx.
Oh. Diddy got a little envious. Little Anita. Some Luther Vandross.
There is the rumor that Jamie Foxx hosts nude basketball games at his house.
Oh, did you see footage of the basketball court at Diddy's crib with the beds on the court? What the could that be for?
So this book was allegedly released by one of her close friends. She was afraid of releasing it before he was put away.
I mean, you only write down because you want people to know about it, right?
She alleged that the Seans, Sean Carter, Sean Combs, Jay-Z, they would be in bed together from time to time.
Now they're throwing Jay-Z into this? I might have to draw the line there.
She overheard Jay-Z saying he was tired of being second fiddle to Biggie and more or less gave Diddy the go-ahead to go through with the execution.
I don't want to believe that, but damn it. Hollywood's gonna blow up when this all comes to light. Every single celebrity we know is either going to be in jail or their reputation completely ruined.
So Quincy Jones' daughter confronts Diddy at an award show about his potential hit on Tupac. She gets up, goes to the bathroom, and Diddy allegedly pees in her ginger ale.
Why the hell would he pee in her ginger ale? Some freak. Him and R. Kelly deserve each other.
He was f***ing Jada, looked into the other room that Diddy was in, and saw Diddy and the power of will.
Now Will Smith is in it too. Shocks me a little bit.
Scientologist.
I didn't know he was a Scientologist.
She overheard Diddy saying that this beef is very lucrative,
East Coast, West Coast.
but it's getting out of hand.
Certain point, 2 bodies.
But if people aren't loyal to him, he can't offer them protection anymore.
Oh, and Biggie was leaving Bad Boy.
She said that Biggie and Tupac were leaving their individual labels and forming one together.
Oh,
which would give credence to the fact that maybe Diddy and Suge Knight worked together to kill both of them off. Kim Porter said she overheard Diddy saying Biggie's worth more to me dead than alive.
now the math is mathing a little too much.
Diddy called Kim Porter, said, "You're going to see me start dating a video girl, a video vixen. Don't worry. It's just a cover up for my sexuality."
J-Lo. Jennifer from the block.
Diddy's the only one that never loved J-Lo.
Oh, you just dropped a bar there. That makes so much sense. This is probably the madame of the freak off.
He would come to Kim Porter's house. She was afraid he would kill her. He said, "Don't worry. If I were to kill you, no one would know."
Spoken like a man who's done it before.
She died in her mid-40s of pneumonia.
Doesn't happen often. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's a little fishy considering everything else going around in this criminal fucking mastermind Diddy.
Kim Porter alleges that Diddy used Faith Evans simply as a pawn to spy on Biggie and have control over him.
So Diddy put Faith Evans in Biggie's life as a plant, as an undercover. This is some dark shit, bro.
Now it really gets disgusting.
Oh no.
Kim Porter became pregnant with Diddy's baby, and Diddy goes, "Perfect. Everyone's gonna want to have sex with you with the freak-offs now." He would set her up to have sex while pregnant with this cohort of celebrities because it was an energy transfer. They would get the energy from the new baby.
This has gotten to a place where I don't even feel comfortable joking about it. Really nasty. Diddy's crib is like the fucking Red Keep.
Kim Porter took a meeting with a Hollywood producer. Diddy did not like that. A few months later, Hollywood producer dead of pneumonia.
The Hollywood producer died of pneumonia too? What the
In fact, Kim Porter said whenever she dated anyone else,
Pneumonia.
suspicious pneumonia diagnosis.
By death?
So she starts sleeping with Diddy again because she knows where the tapes are, and she slowly makes it a mission to sleep with him, go to the vault, copy the tapes, put them up on a cloud. And then she says that she found tapes of Bieber, Bow Wow, and Usher.
Oh my God, so he was going for the young superstars when they were young.
Later on, her home was raided for the tapes, but they were in the cloud, stupid.
Thought ahead.
The ending of the book, she's writing that I'm not feeling well. I'm about to go to the hospital. I needed to write this down just in case anything happens to me. If anything did happen to me, you know who caused it.
Oh my God, this is a smoking gun.
Now, people are also recirculating the fact that Diddy and Jamie Foxx got into some sort of scuffle. Jamie Foxx, mysterious coma for months. No one knows what happened.
Holy shit, that did happen to Jamie. We was wondering what happened to him. So we almost lost Jamie because of Diddy?
It's unclear if she wrote this book, if even 5% of this information is correct.
Oh, at least half of that is true. What a sick this shit is not even funny anymore.
You will never see the light of day again.
Yeah, man, this fucking sick. Cat Williams was right all along. Fucking psycho-ass Diddy, man. I'll see you on Cell Block Freak.
No Rico, Deuce. This the Freako.
Okay, a lot is in that video. I want to ask you about the part about Kim Porter being pregnant. And this goes back to what we were talking about with satanic rituals. Is that a satanic ritual type thing where pregnant women, everybody wanting to have sex with a pregnant woman because of energy transfer?
Well, again, we have to look at, there's satanic doctrine, there's Luciferian doctrine. Luciferian doctrine with the age of Aquarius coming in is, the main push right now, is the main forefront. So yes, that's where, again, I was trained in chakras and vibration, frequency, love and light, all this. Brother love Diddy likes to go by. So the energy is what they believe in. We have to understand that there's many of us that believe in Christ, and that's our ideology, technically speaking. And there's other people that have different ideologies about God and about, how we should live as humans and things. And, that is part of it. So yes, it's very, that could be very accurate that when you're at a freak off, if you will, that there's energy transfer when someone is pregnant or, whatever their body's doing, there's different things that can be going on. But yes, that
okay.
The energy aspect is part of it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you something else. So what about as far as when you look at Justin Bieber, Diddy, I saw side by side of two different Diddys. They look like two completely different people. So do some of these people look different to you or not?
Yeah, they do. I'll say that. I think people that follow me and know I try to really stay in the focus and streamline to, what the actual issues that we can do something about aside from distractions. If they're the same people or different people, does that really change anything right now? Because if it's a different person, they're still doing the same behaviors, it's still participating in the same things and having the end result.
Yeah. So it's not Because so Megan, so that means then that it's not like, oh, they look different, they did bad, they've been taken out, and now they've been replaced with a good one, a good person, a good version. That's not really going on here. It doesn't seem like to me. It seems like
That
if
doesn't
somebody looks different, it's still just another bad guy.
Yeah, that doesn't resonate with me, that there's people replaced that are going to be better versions of the same person. I mean, that even
Okay.
for the trajectory of this, how does that, so now this person is just a good person, that doesn't work out. I think if anything, yes, there's been changes in appearances. I think that those people in those positions that are guilty of those things also have a lot of stress and are afraid for their lives right now with everything coming out. So I think that takes a toll, and a lot of them are on drugs or different things, and so yeah, we're seeing a demise, as well as we know your spirituality, and that does have physical manifestations at times. If you do have demons, or you are possessed, or you're allowing other entities within your vehicle, right? Your
body.
your soul.
Yeah, that makes. Is there a pecking order that you're aware of? So, like with Jay-Z, we're not hearing a lot about Jay-Z, but I got a feeling that's coming. So you got Kanye, you got Jay-Z, and you got Diddy. And so obviously, from everything I can tell, Clive Davis was really the one mentoring Diddy, and there's no telling what all that was including. But then you've got Jay-Z and you've got Kanye, and so we're not really hearing from Kanye. And I got to hand it to you, girl. You told me months ago. You said, just keep your eye out when the Diddy stuff comes out. That's when you'll know things are really hitting the fan. And it's looking like it's going to be just in time for the election that everybody's going to find out that old Kamala was up into no good. In fact, I was watching something this morning that said the giggling and the awkward behavior was because it was her cocaine at the White House that Hunter Biden had to take the fall for, and that Joe was mad about it. And I'm like, oh Lord, my head hurts. Like, who knows what the truth is here. But,
My
wow.
parents were cocaine addicts when Adam was taken, actually, and that gets completely ignored as well. So, I mean, I'm just saying it's not just one. Like I said before, when it was just Diddy coming out, I kept putting on my Twitter that Diddy ain't the only one. I kept saying.
For
so
sure.
I also want, Ali Carter was upfront about saying it would be Diddy as well, and we're right on the money. So we also have to, from that video, what I wanted to bring from that video also is, they said like kind of the rivalry or the factions, if you will, and we've talked about that, in terms of just observing. I like to, and I hope everyone can, I can be an example, but learn to be the observer of self and of situations. Not everything's black and white, and we don't have to decide things right away. But, we have to understand that this is an industry thing. This is not groups of people. This is an industry thing. And that, people that are speaking out that are against Diddy, they have, most likely it's because they have their own butts to cover for. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
I guess.
sure. Well, and I think that country music is next. I was suspecting that. Now we're already seeing stuff about Garth Brooks, which I knew he had to be no good just because of he was present at the presidential inauguration, whatever you want to call it, from 2020, right? And so I said, that ain't a good sign. He's up there with Lady Gaga, and that's no good. And now we're finding out this crazy stuff about him.
Yeah,
now we're finding out this crazy
it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's the phrase that you're taught. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Okay.
And I want to say something real quick to the Clive Davis. If you go to my ex, I believe it was last week or the week before, we put up a great graphic that shows what we've correlated and found through research and the connections there and documentation is, we have Les Wexner, who funded Jeffrey Epstein. Les Wexner is a main donor through L Brands to the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. So we have Les Wexner with the arrow down to Epstein, down to the logo of the National Center. And then next to it, we have Clive Davis, trickled down to P. Diddy, which trickles down ultimately to the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. And that's what's just starting to come out about the Diddy, is the aspect of the minors that were there. And then as Ali Carter so wonderfully and directly and courageously says and states, most of these children are coming from the foster care system or a compromised situation.
Wow. Yep. And it goes back to CPS, what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. they're involved. I did hear a video and I saw it where he was on a microphone at his home, it looked like, at one of these parties. And he said something about, the kids were going to be leaving soon. And, it's like, oh my goodness. And so, okay, you said something that I thought was very interesting that I know my viewers just may not even realize. And I want you to talk about this and educate us, okay? And that was, we had talked about this the other day. You said, not everybody's walking around like people are trying to claim that all inverted. You said it's about an inverted spiritual or energy. Will you explain that?
Yeah, it's just like what kind of with the pregnancy, but I think a little more direct or easier for people to understand. And I really want people to understand this. You can disagree or whatnot, but I think people need to hear this, that we're walking around sounding like crazy bats out of hell, saying this person's inverted, that person's inverted, everybody's inverted. That's part of this. And that's simply not true. That's absolutely not true. What it is with that rise of feminism in America that we had, and the promotion of that was really encouraging a Kali spirit, which is a demon. It's a Hindu god, Kali. It's connected to Shiva, the destroyer. We see him in his dancing mode as Navaratri in front of CERN, with the big CERN collider and all of that. And she is a warrior goddess. She's known for, her statue. She's got holding a man's head, decapitated head. She's standing on a man, all of that. And that really brought forth a new energy, right, brought it back into our being, right, or into our awareness. And so a lot of these couples, especially when we talk about, like they did in the video with Kim Porter, I mean, a big reason why I left the industry is I didn't want to be a beard. I didn't want to be having children for somebody that was, secretly closeted, best friend of Kanye and all of that, is the father of my son. And so I did not want to, once I realized what was going on behind the scenes and got called pocket dials from freak offs and was getting, pictures of him, from his, excuse my French, but it's the phrase in trafficking, their bottom bitches, and stuff like that. Madams calling, saying that they were having my partner's children while they were, trafficking drugs pregnant for them and different things. I was contacted by a mother and daughter who say that, they attempted to traffic her actually the night before they targeted me at LA Fashion Week, in a hotel in LA. And that's another story of how they do it through the industry and say, oh, we're going to develop you as an artist. And they take you to their racket and you think you're getting somewhere, but actually they're trafficking you and using you. And that's how they get people involved. We've seen that with Bieber and Usher and the grooming that takes place. And, I was in that as a talent. But the energy aspect is that it's that the women are more masculine. They, follow the wives is another thing we're hearing a lot or have heard in the past. And a lot of that is the men, either being on the down low or just having more of a feminine energy, and the women having more of a masculine energy. So we have to, handlers, women can be handlers. Women are the procurers, like Ghislaine Maxwell we see. And my father over the years has been very pointed to make sure every single time it's brought up, the center's brought up, that he accredits my mother for, starting it and overseeing it and creating all of this. So it's interesting. Okay. But yeah, people need to understand that.
All right. So when you say closeted, does that mean that they're really gay? Like these guys are really gay? Is that what you're saying?
Or bisexual.
Okay.
Yeah, or bisexual. Like we're seeing with, and that's also how it's easier for them to traffic women and children because they're not, a lot of them hate women, to be honest. So.
Interesting. Why do they hate women? Do they have mama issues?
They've got a lot of issues, Michelle. They've got a lot of issues.
I just didn't know if there was some.
That goes into, that's ritualistic. That goes into the, they have sodomy rituals. They have all these different things. And I think a lot of that is, a show that we could talk about spiritual aspects and deeper aspects of what this is, really going on behind the scenes for these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Deborah Lynn W said, so disgusting. I have never heard of these things. I must really be naive. Honey, I'm right with you. That's why I got Meghan on the show, because Meghan explaining it to me on the phone the other night. And between that and videos like the dry erase one we just watched, you're like, oh my goodness. I remember Meghan hearing someone saying, oh yeah, all the people in the rap, all those guys are gay. And it was like, oh, don't exaggerate saying they're all gay. No, they're all gay. It's all of them. And so it's just, or bi, like you said, where they, both ways. But okay, so I want you to help me understand something. And this is my last question, really. We'll go through some viewer comments and questions, then we'll end. Okay. But you said something the other
quick, Michelle, before you do that, real quick, I do want to just also bring up a notion that maybe people have heard about but aren't, in the know about, but that's being installed. Like in that video, it talked about Diddy and in the beginning, how here's someone with no talent, they can have this label, da da da. Well, there's people that are installed in things. My brother, for example, now with all the Diddy stuff going on, how I ended up in music and everything was because he was already in music. His buddies growing up became the Runners, who are music producers, and they created the single Hustlin' by Rick Ross, which made Rick Ross a celebrity, a rapper, and gave him his platform. And that's all about trafficking cocaine and all of that. And we see with my father, John Walsh, in the past, what he was surrounded by and involved in prior to Adam, which brings in the generational aspect of all of this in our country. We see with Joe Biden, Hunter, these kind of things, these situations. But what I'm getting at is installed, originally being in music. The Runners made Rick Ross, which was under the label that is run by DJ Khaled. And those are two names that are being brought up in the Diddy scenarios and situations. And then my brother was taken out of that after his best friend was actually busted for trafficking cocaine up and down the state of Florida. My father got him a lesser sentence, and then my father put him and moved him into the National Center and then into his hosting position now with with America's Most Wanted. So to see how, a talent, if you will, to call my brother a talent for this, is placed in these different arenas, how that transpires and how that ends up and what they're doing with it. Right. So.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So you said something the other night. I think you even might have mentioned it earlier. I'm not sure, but a little bit, but you were talking about what we're really watching is a battle between globalist Satanists and versus the Luciferian transhumanists. Can you explain what all that means? That's a lot to say. And so what are we, normal people just trying to, want to be left alone and raise our families and, live the American dream, home ownership and, be free and get on a rocking chair on our front porches. So some of this stuff is just so much. And so when you talk about globalist Satanists, that's that New World Order versus the Luciferian transhumanists, I don't see how either one of them is any good. Neither one of them are believers because globalist Satanists aren't going to be a believer, obviously, and Luciferian transhumanists aren't believers. So we're watching as believers and just good-hearted, naive Americans, I guess. I hate to say that everybody's naive, but I think that we're waking up and I think in conversations like this are extremely important because you're able to say some things that are and explain some things that we don't understand, just like the inverted spiritual energy stuff. So can you explain what you meant by that? The globalist Satanists versus the Luciferian transhumanists.
Yeah, and I think, obviously you can get into intricacies and that and debates and different perspectives would come into play. But I think that's for me, I use that as the most simple way or direct way to kind of sum it up, right, if you will. So, we see kind of like and yes, us as believers, as we the people, right, if you will.
Yeah.
So we see for me, my perspective, right, is an old faction of satanic worship, ritual abuse, blackmail, lots of blood and gore and, all of this stuff, Marina Abramovich, with her spirit cooking and these things, versus we see, and I'll say it, we have a Luciferian love and light, yoga and all of this that's come forward over the past 10 years. Again, that was put into place by the military industrial complex here in America. And then we see this push, and I'll say Elon is would be the front runner of this for, transhumanism and Neuralink and, uploading consciousness and all of that, which is a lot of what I saw and was introduced to, obviously, when I was working and involved in Kanye's circles.
Why is Trump talking with Elon then? It's like, I guess really I'm waiting to see if Elon's ever going to be put into any kind of a position. And so this may be, a lot of talk, but maybe never really happen. And so it'll be interesting.
I leave that up to God. I leave that up to God because I know that all of us every day could be not entertaining any of this and taking it out of our realm and moving into new spaces of just focusing. This is to make it all seem really big and bigger than us and confusing. It's a CIA tactic directly. But if we really can focus on the fact that we know who the child this is a blessing, you guys, for us to be at this point in our human consciousness and society, and not just here in America, but globally, to realize that, who's trafficking our children, that's an incredible blessing. And we can't be sitting on that. And for it to be so simple to just research in your community and find out who the dependency judges are, who are the attorneys and the administrations for your state department locally, who are the contracted organizations that are overseeing the case plans and whether the children are returned or not, who are the guardian ad litems, who are the court appointed attorneys, who, these are the people there every day. And that's going to be hard for America because it could be your cousin, it could be your brother, you could be a CPS worker. And at this point now, to claim ignorance or that you don't know or, different things is not viable anymore. So that's why I encourage people to look into their communities, to get involved, and also for any judges, law enforcement, social workers, anyone that has worked in this and has experienced firsthand and is not okay. I mean, you are at a point. You have to decide whether you're coming forward and saying, I'm not okay with this, or if you're going to keep facilitating this in America. And there are simply, as I say, Trump said in the debate, I don't have a plan, but I have concepts. Well, as I've been appealing, Donald Trump, Robert Kennedy Jr., I have a better ways concept. It's not about my ego. This is a starting place and a concept, exactly that. But there are much better ways that we can be raising our children to where we aren't even at a point of CPS, the need for that, as well as there's never been a that federally. It's a local issue. We need to be loving thy neighbor as thyself. We need to stop judging and shaming others. We all have hardships. We all have things. And we need to stop allowing our children to be brutally traumatized, abused, exploited, and trafficked under the guise of help.
That's so good. BB said, good interview. Thank you. And then Sherry Halter says, this is interesting. All right, let's go through a few things. So Giacomo 11 says, this is all a terrible travesty of all that was supposed to be that our Heavenly Father created. Overwhelming and sad that it's been like this for so long. And that's the point too. I was going to make a point about the fact that, Diddy wasn't the first. And like you said, it's an industry, but let's think about this. This isn't the first generation. This has been going on and going on and going on. Yeah. And so just like you said, I say, praise God that all this is coming to a head, but I am praying for justice, and justice includes accountability, not the Epstein stuff that nobody has had any accountability. And so we have got to have something new happen to a whole nother level. And so, we don't even know if Ghislaine Maxwell's really even in prison. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't even know that Epstein's dead. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not, running around on that island. And so I want to see some people.
That's why I stick to the kids, Michelle. That's why I stick to the kids, because we won't know that. And this didn't change, what's going on regardless of all of that, right? And it'll continue. So, that's why I asked them to do something. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to do something. That's so good. Kim Porter is the only one with a normal name. I don't know. It's just, I know before the show started, I was going through a list with Megan, and I didn't know how to pronounce some of these people's names. I don't listen to popular music and all that stuff. When I became a believer, none of it, I can't even listen to stuff like that. And I don't watch horror movies or scary movies anyways. I never have. So I've never seen a single, like Freddy Krueger and all that stuff. Never seen any of it.
Me neither.
I know the name and I know the character. Yeah, I'm not watching any of that stuff. And neither, we're not having that. Okay, KM Sunshine 1974. We answered that question. It was not McChrystal standing beside Hunter. Okay, so another viewer said, I know a mom who had her children taken for no reason and not allowed contact. My son-in-law was in ICU after being raped in foster care. Oh, goodness. And was given a settlement, basically hush money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure every day, all day long.
We have a case, Kara Witowski and baby James, who the father, actually, the National Center for Missing Exploited Children already had his computer where they found child porn on it. I don't remember the quoted number, but a large percentage of the child porn that was found on his computer were actually of children that were currently listed as missing through the National Center. The computer was returned. He was awarded 50-50 custody of his children, despite all the reports, despite this fact. And he then ultimately took his baby, I believe he was 8 months old at the time, to the hospital, saying that he was having, stomach issues, going to the bathroom, all of that, where the baby did pass away, and trigger warning, but from anal injury, severe anal injury. The court still decided that the older daughter, needed to still go and spend 50-50 time with her father, and while she was reporting that he was now molesting her as well. And Kara has been very courageous and outspoken about that, but that's only, again, hey, we have Allie. I brought you Yeshua. I bring you Kara. I brought you real circumstances. There's a gentleman on TikTok that's the TikTok fugitive. He was, the National Center was used against him in conjunction with Interpol. He was a Microsoft executive at the time. So there's many cases that are real where the National Center needs to answer and has been involved in the trafficking and weapon, all of this. So
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So,
this is daily, Michelle. This is, I want people to understand. You can go on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and just type in family court corruption, CPS, child trafficking. You will find endless groups, endless stories. If you go to my X, which I want to thank everyone, we just reached 54,000 and heavy shadow banning for everything I put out. And we're still, making numbers. So I really appreciate that, but it is endless. And I have people on my page that come forward every day that say, my children are my grandchildren, my children, this has happened to me. People, when you go out and speak amongst the people, most people know, you'll hear, oh yeah, CPS is horrible. CPS is it's a failing business, bottom line at this point everywhere. I'll leave it at that. It's a failing business.
It's horrific. Okay, so Meghan, you are a true inspiration and an example of God having his hand on you. Bless you, from Docs06. GLS or GL Star says, my heart breaks for you, Meghan. I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry. Thank you for fighting for what's right. That is a great way to end the show. That's right. She does. She's been fighting for what's right. She's on X. Make sure that, what's your handle on X, Meghan? It's Meghan.
I want to say something. I want to say something that I thank those people that did say that. And I could not do this without the Lord. I can't wait for this to be over, to really share our testimony and be able to talk about every, aspect that the Lord has really shown his promises and has renewed me and my children. But it is very hard. I wake up every morning crying for my children before my eyes open. And I'm saying that because this isn't about me. This isn't about you, Michelle. This isn't about anyone listening to this. These children are in their beds every night crying for their families, and they have loving families, like we saw in Haiti with Laura Silsby. Those children had families, and we are given propaganda of it takes a village, and there's hundreds of thousands of children that need loving homes. This is not the truth. You have to start changing your perspective. This is trafficking. These are traffickers. These are kidnappers. They are killing your children, and the judges are awarding abusers and pedophiles. And now the border issue. That's only a manifestation because it's allowed here, and it's a well-oiled machine. Please, everyone, these children are in their beds and being taken as we're talking here.
That's
with
right.
roofs over their heads by the grace of God. Yeah. So my ex-handle, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to say, and a lot of them, they're not going to live. We've got to stop this. Yeah, we've got to stop it.
The taking of my baby was technically, and from a real perspective, that's attempted murder on the baby and the mother itself. And we're having children in the hospital because of Obamacare ripped from their parents every single day for money. So we're there.
It's insane.
We have
It's
state-raised
absolutely
children already, you guys, and now we're going, why is this in the streets? Why are children shooting each other? Why do we have such an issue? That's all created, you guys. Children need loving parents. They need co-parenting these days.
That's
I don't
right.
care what your girlfriend is this week or what issue you have with your ex. You show up and you know what a child needs. This is not rocket science. And if there's people in need, we step up and we help.
That's right.
For
I
the
like
children.
that. Natalie says, bring our children home, Father. In Jesus' name, we demand that they be returned. We will be doing a follow-up with Jack and Margie Flynn and Meghan about what all you guys as the viewers will be able to do to help. We're going to see if there's something that we, the people, can do to help Meghan get her 4 kids back. So this has been in the works. It was just an idea that I had and asked Meghan if that was something that she would want to do. And so they've already talked. They've already spoken. And they're working on a plan. So I'm excited to hear about how that proceeds. And so, Meghan, love you, honey. And
like I said, we need you guys, viewers. We need you. We're going to be calling on you. You can find me on X at Meghan Walsh _. I survive every day off of donations. I hate this because of, everyone's asking for donations, especially with the storm, especially with the grifters and all of this. And I understand that we're all in hard times, but that's how I survive. We are looking at some expenses coming up, and we truly need help. It's mortifying that I have to do this because I am here doing this from my heart. I'd be here regardless, but because of the, retaliation and the way things are, we do need support with that. And you can find that at Cash App. It's the money sign M Walsh Consulting, or at PayPal is Family, Farm, and Faith. That's all spelled out. The AND, it's not a symbol. It's all spelled out. Family, Farm, and Faith at gmail.com. And prayers, of course, are always first and foremost invaluable. And if I have any requests beyond prayers, it's just get involved, guys. Just please get involved.
Yeah. And so if you will, in the private chat, put those in there, and producer Ron, I'll get those in the show description for you. Okay, honey? All right. So thank you so much, doll. All right. She's been through hell and back. I don't know how she does it, having 4 kids and she doesn't get to see them every day. Having a baby ripped out of your arms at 5 days old. It's just unbelievable. And, I've been thinking about something, and that is, and I saw someone else comment about it today, and I thought, this is what I've been thinking about. We're always talking about backing the blue. Well, it was the sheriff's office or the police department. A lot of these guys are Freemasons. I mean, are we just blindly backing the very people that are working with CPS, that are working with these corrupt judges and attorneys? I mean, I just think about that here lately. It's like making that connection and wondering, are we being MK Ultra'd over and over? You hearing back the blue, back the blue, back the blue. But, I don't know if that's just something that is the best, that's in our best interest, And so I guess with everything, there's good and bad. And we can't just blindly back the blue anymore. I think that's one of the things I've been thinking about. Okay. The other thing I wanted to remind you about is tonight at 6 p.m. Central, which would be 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget that there is the town hall in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm going to be very interested to see what is said about what is going on with with the responders. Is this going to be kind of sugar-coated, or is Trump aware of what's going on between TEMA, which is like FEMA, but for Tennessee? So for the state, there's probably NEMA, which is, North Carolina or whatever. And then immediately following that, we're going to have the Biltmore Unveiled documentary. It's about a little bit over 2 hours. Producer Ron said he's very excited about it. Says there's all different kinds of history and all different kinds of stuff in there. Just in case you don't know, that swimming pool that's in the Biltmore is in quite a bit of horrific artwork that was found in Tony Podesta's home. And then also others where boys are and it looks like it's the same pool. It's a swimming pool. But and one of the artwork pieces, actually, the little boy looks like a young Anderson Cooper. Now, Anderson Cooper, just in case you don't know, is a Vanderbilt. And so it's very interesting information. And so I'll be very interested to see about Biltmore. And I'm interested if anybody has any kind of a news or update. I'd love for you to email me. I haven't been able to confirm, but people have asked me, is it true that the Biltmore got flooded? I don't know. And so I haven't seen anything that's been, absolute on that. So it'll be interesting to hear what we end up finding out on that. And that's what producer Ron and I were talking about yesterday. And that's when he got to looking for anything on the Biltmore and found this documentary. And so, because it's just timely. And so we hope that you enjoy that tonight immediately following the town hall. Thank you, producer Ron. We got such a great producer. I got the best producer around. That's just a fact. All right. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wave Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. People have used the Wave Watch for kidney stones, arteries, blood, immune system, vagus nerve, myocarditis, allergies, colds and flu, ADD and ADHD, strokes, Parkinson's, carpal tunnel, thyroid, Lyme disease, and so much more. Wave Watch has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can also upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Are you tired of all your pills and endless trips to the pharmacy? Why not try the Wave Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Just go to wavewatch.com. At checkout, use the code Michelle100 to receive $100 savings on your purchase.
I'm Dr. Fulgens. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1-ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleeve for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC-accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleeve also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleeve banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off your first order. For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.